You know that feeling when you're watching a movie for the second time and suddenly all the clues make sense? The things you missed the first time round become so obvious you wonder how you didn't see them before. That's exactly what happens to men when they finally understand female psychology and dating. It's not a magical moment. There's no lightning bolt. It's more like turning on the lights in a room you've been stumbling around in for years, and once those lights are on, you can't turn them back off. I'm not here to tell you women are the enemy. I'm not here to teach you manipulation tactics. What I'm here to do is show you the difference between what we're told dating is supposed to be and what actually makes it work. If you've ever felt like you're doing everything right, but somehow ending up in the same frustrating situations over and over, this video is for you. Hit that like button if you're tired of confusion, and subscribe because we're going to break down the psychological patterns that change everything. Let's get into it. Here's something nobody tells you when you're learning about dating. There's a script, an invisible one, and most men don't even know they're reading from it. The script says, be nice, be available, be consistent, show her you care, communicate openly, be vulnerable, prove you're different from other guys. Sounds reasonable, right? That's the problem. It sounds so reasonable that men follow it religiously. They text back immediately. They make themselves available whenever she wants to hang out. They explain their feelings in detail. They reassure her constantly. And then they watch, confused, as the interest slowly fades. Let me tell you about my friend Jake. Smart guy, good job, treats women with respect. He meets someone, they hit it off, and for the first few weeks everything's great. Then he notices she's taking longer to respond. Plans become vague. She's busy more often. So Jake does what the script tells him. To do, he tries harder. More texts, more availability, more emotional openness, and it only makes things worse. Jake couldn't understand it. He was doing everything right according to the rule book. But here's the thing about that rule book. It was written by people who don't understand human psychology. They understand fairness. They understand morality. But attraction doesn't run on fairness. It runs on psychology. Think about it like this. Imagine you walk into a store and everything is on sale for 90% off. Are you thinking, wow, what amazing value? Or are you thinking, what's wrong with this stuff? That's what happens when a man makes himself too available. Not because there's actually something wrong with him, but because human beings assign value based on scarcity and selectivity. It's not right or wrong. It's just how our brains work. Now, I know what some of you are thinking. This sounds like playing games. But here's the difference. Playing games is pretending to be unavailable while desperately hoping for attention. Understanding psychology is actually being selective about where you invest your time and energy. One is manipulation. The other is self-respect. And women can feel the difference even if they can't explain it. There's a specific moment that happens to men, and once it happens, dating becomes completely different. It's the moment when you stop trying to make someone like you and start evaluating whether you even like the situation you're in. It sounds simple, but it's a fundamental shift in how you show up. Before this shift, men are constantly asking themselves, what does she think of me? Did I say the right thing? Should I text her? Am I doing enough? The focus is entirely external. It's like being an actor who's constantly checking if the audience approves. After the shift, the questions change. Do I feel good in this dynamic? Is this person adding to my life or draining it? Am I being treated with respect? The focus becomes internal, and women feel this shift immediately. Not consciously, like, oh, he's evaluating me now, but subconsciously. There's a change in your energy. You're not performing anymore. You're not trying to prove anything. You're just present, solid, grounded in yourself. Let me give you a real example. I used to date someone who was hot and cold. Some days she'd be super engaged, texting me throughout the day, making plans. Other days, radio silence, and I would spend those silent days anxious, wondering what I did wrong, trying to figure out how to fix it. Then one day I just stopped. Not because I was angry or playing a game. I genuinely stopped caring about fixing it. I had other things going on in my life that mattered more. Projects I was excited about, friends I wanted to see, goals I was working toward. And you know what happened, she noticed. Suddenly she was the one reaching out, asking if everything was okay, trying to make plans. Nothing about me had changed. Externally, I didn't say anything different or act cold, but the energy was different. I wasn't leaning forward anymore. I was just standing still, living my life. This is what people mean when they say, focus on yourself. It's not a tactic. It's genuinely shifting your energy from external validation to internal stability. Think of it like a magnet. When you chase something metal with a magnet, it slides away from you. But when you hold the magnet still, the metal comes to it. Your energy in dating works the same way. The weird part is, this shift doesn't just affect one relationship, it affects all of them. Because once you stop seeking validation from women, once you stop making them the center of your emotional world, they sense it. And ironically, that's when they start moving toward you instead of away from you. Here's something that takes men way too long to figure out. Women don't actually want you to explain everything. They want to feel your boundaries. Most guys think clarity comes from communication. So when something bothers them, they talk about it. They explain why they felt a certain way. They try to help her understand their perspective. They believe that if they just communicate well enough, the issue will be resolved. But attraction doesn't work through negotiation. Let me explain it like this. Imagine you're at a restaurant and the waiter brings you the wrong order. You can do two things. You can spend 10 minutes explaining to the waiter why this isn't what you wanted, what you actually ordered, why it matters to you and how you'd like them to fix it. Or you can simply say, "This isn't my order," and wait for them to handle it. Which approach has more natural authority? The second one, because you're not seeking understanding. You're stating a reality. You're not negotiating. You're establishing a boundary. My friend Marcus learned this the hard way. He was dating someone who kept cancelling plans last minute. Every time it happened, Marcus would have a long conversation with her about how it made him feel disrespected, how he valued punctuality, how he hoped she could be more considerate. She would apologize, promise to do better, and then do the same thing next week. Finally, after months of this, Marcus tried something different. The next time she cancelled last minute, he didn't explain anything. He just said no worries and made other plans. When she tried to reschedule, he was genuinely busy. He didn't lecture her. He didn't make her feel bad. He just showed her through his actions that his time had value and there were consequences to wasting it. She never cancelled on him again, not because she was scared of losing him, but because his boundary was real, not just words. She could feel that he meant it without him having to explain why. This is the difference between boundaries and rules. Rules are things you announce and then enforce through argument. Boundaries are things you simply hold, and people either respect them or remove themselves from your life. Women are incredibly perceptive. They can sense when a boundary is real versus when it's a bluff. When you set a boundary and then violate it yourself by accepting behavior that crosses it, you're teaching her that your boundaries are negotiable. But when you set a boundary and simply hold it quietly, without anger or explanation, something shifts. She doesn't see you as controlling. She sees you as secure, and security is attractive in a way that neediness never will be. Here's what most men don't realize. Explaining yourself constantly actually weakens your position. Because every explanation is an attempt to justify your feelings, And when you're justifying your feelings, you're implying they might not be valid. You're seeking approval for having them in the first place. A man who knows his worth doesn't explain why he deserves respect. He just expects it. And when he doesn't get it, he doesn't argue, he leaves. That's the power of boundaries. They're not about controlling other people. They're about controlling your own participation in dynamics that don't serve you. Once you start paying attention, you'll notice something that seems almost too consistent to be real. But it is real, and once you see it, you can't unsee it. Here's the pattern. Interest is revealed by effort, not by words. Sounds obvious, right? But men ignore this truth constantly because they want to believe what they're being told instead of what they're being shown. A woman says she's really interested in you but takes 3 days to respond to a text. A woman says she wants to hang out but is always too busy when you suggest specific plans. A woman says she likes spending time with you but flakes on dates regularly. Men will tie themselves in knots trying to rationalize this gap between words and actions. Maybe she's just shy. Maybe she's been hurt before. Maybe she's testing me. Maybe she needs more time. But here's the cold truth. When a woman is genuinely interested, she makes it easy, not desperate, not clingy, just easy. Think about your own life for a second. When you really want to do something, see a movie, hang out with a friend, work on a project, do you need someone to convince you? Do you make excuses? No. You find the time. You make it happen. Women are exactly the same. I learned this lesson from watching my buddy Chris. He was hung up on this girl for months. She'd give him just enough attention to keep him around. A late-night text here, a vague, we should hang out sometime there, but never actually commit to concrete plans. Chris would analyze every interaction. She used 3 exclamation points. That means she's excited. She sent a heart emoji. That's a good sign. He was reading tea leaves, looking for proof that she was interested. Meanwhile, another girl he'd been casually talking to was consistently making time for him, responding quickly, suggesting specific dates to hang out. But Chris barely noticed her because he was so focused on the one who was giving him breadcrumbs. One day I asked him, if a job interview kept rescheduling on you, would you think they were really interested in hiring you? Or would you assume they were keeping you as a backup option? It clicked for him. He stopped chasing the first girl and started paying attention to the one who was actually showing up. Last I heard, they're moving in together. The pattern is simple. People make time for what matters to them. If someone isn't making time for you, you don't matter to them as much as you think you do. And that's not cruel, it's just information. Once you accept this, dating becomes so much clearer. You stop trying to decode mixed signals because you realize mixed signals are actually clear signals. They're saying, I'm not interested enough. That's it. There's no hidden meaning to unlock. This is where men waste years of their lives, trying to turn a maybe into a yes, trying to convince someone to want them, trying to prove their value to someone who's already decided they're not interested. But once you understand this pattern, you stop doing that. You stop investing in people who aren't investing back. And suddenly, you have so much more time and energy for the people who actually want to be around you. So what happens when a man truly internalizes all of this? Does he become cold, bitter, cynical about women? No. The opposite happens. He becomes calm. Because confusion is exhausting. Constantly wondering where you stand, analyzing every text, worrying about whether you're doing enough or too much. That's what drains you. That's what makes dating feel like a minefield. But when you understand these patterns, dating becomes simple, not easy. Simple. There's a difference. Simple means you know what you're looking for. You know what behavior indicates genuine interest. You know what your boundaries are. You know when to invest and when to walk away. The anxiety disappears because you're no longer trying to control outcomes. You're just observing and making decisions based on what you see. Let me tell you what happened to me personally. For years, I would meet someone, feel a spark, and immediately start trying to nurture that spark into a flame. I'd text consistently, make myself available, plan thoughtful dates, put in serious effort from day one, and sometimes it worked. But more often, I'd end up feeling like I was doing all the work while they just passively received my effort. After I learned this stuff, I changed my approach. Now when I meet someone, I show interest, sure. But I also watch their behaviour. Do they initiate sometimes? Do they contribute to planning? Do they show enthusiasm through actions, not just words? If yes, great. I match their energy and we build something together. If no, I don't get angry or resentful. I don't give them a lecture about reciprocity. I just fade back. Not as a punishment, but because I'm not interested in one-sided dynamics. And here's the thing. My dating life got so much better. Not because I started dating more people, but because I stopped wasting time on situations that weren't going anywhere. The women I date now are actually excited to spend time with me. Plans happen smoothly, communication feels natural, and when something doesn't feel right, I trust that feeling and act on it quickly instead of trying to fix it for months. This is what changes forever once men understand this about women. It's not that you suddenly have all the power or that you're playing some game. It's that you stop participating in confusion. You stop subsidizing indecision. You stop being the emotional stabilizer for someone else's ambivalence. And honestly, it makes you a better partner to someone who actually wants to be with you. Because you're not bringing anxiety and insecurity into the relationship. You're bringing clarity and self-respect. The biggest shift is internal. You stop feeling like dating is something happening to you and start feeling like it's something you're actively choosing. You're not waiting to be picked. You're doing the picking. And that confidence, that genuine, earned confidence that comes from self-respect, is more attractive than any pickup line or dating strategy could ever be. Look, I'm not here to tell you that all dating wisdom can be boiled down to a formula. People are complicated. Every situation is unique. But there are patterns, and these patterns are real. Once you start seeing them, you can't unsee them, and that's not a bad thing. It doesn't make you cold or calculating. It makes you clear-eyed. The biggest lie men are told about dating is that effort alone is enough. That if you just try hard enough, be patient enough, communicate well enough, things will work out. But effort without reciprocity isn't love. It's labor. And you deserve more than to be someone's emotional project manager, constantly trying to maintain a connection that the other person isn't actively building with you. So here's my challenge to you. For the next week, pay attention to behavior, not words. Watch how people show up, not what they say they'll do. Notice the difference between genuine interest and polite responsiveness. You might be surprised by what you discover. If this video gave you a new perspective, hit that like button, share it with a friend who needs to hear this, and subscribe, because we're going to keep breaking down the psychology that actually matters in dating and relationships. The moment you stop chasing clarity is the moment it finally arrives. I'll see you in the next one.